Amen. Amen. You can take a seat. Welcome to the garden. If it's your first time here, it's our first time here too, which is super cool, super weird all at once. For context, last week we announced that we were becoming the garden, and this week we are. It's a kind of magic, but we're grateful. The Lord's been really kind. Curate Church has been really kind. I'm allowed to say it in that context. People who are about to... Everybody's worried that I'm going to keep referring to us because it's been about 6 years that I might continue to refer to us as Curate Church. If I do, I get charged. So as a result, giving has gone up, which is scary because it's... I'm working on it. But we are very grateful, and it's been a beautiful, beautiful season. So if it is your first time, we're still learning what it is to be the garden, and we would love to invite you to find out more. You can come to Seeds and Stories on Wednesday night if you'd like. We'd love to have you there and talk about a little bit more about our church and what we see the Lord doing. I have a friend who used to live in Mt Maunganui. I have a lot of friends who live in Mt Maunganui. And one of them had this house. It was immaculate. You know those houses that looks like it's just come out of a, Better Homes and Gardens magazine. And his was no exception. Better Homes and Gardens, everything was immaculate. You'd walk into their home and it felt like it was staged. People lived in it. They assured me they lived in it, but it felt like it was staged. It was immaculate. Every single part of it, from the manicured lawns to the well-tended gardens to the wallpaper and the art, it was just exquisite. But they had this fence line down the right-hand side of their house, and it wasn't exquisite. It was like this rampant weed had grown up the fence and all along it, and they'd just taken to it with a hacksaw or a machete. And I looked at this rampant weed and I just assumed they hated it. I just assumed that they hated this weed, that it was something that had grown over the neighbor's fence or come under the neighbor's fence and grown up their wall and taken over, because it looked horrible. It looked abused. And I remember thinking, why would anybody do that to a plant? Why would anybody have that much frustration in their heart? Why don't they just rip it out? Why would they take it to the point of absolute mutilation when everything else around is pristine, when everything else around is beautiful? Months later, I went back to their house and I walked around the side and I examined that same fence line and I didn't recognize it. It was like they'd planted something new, or maybe 4 somethings new. It was lush and it was beautiful. It was bursting with life. And it was immaculate now too, like the rest of their home, like the rest of their garden. And I couldn't help myself. I said, mate, that creeper, what happened? But it wasn't just a creeper anymore. Now it was grapes. And there might be something in that for you. You don't have to be a creep anymore. You can be grapes. You don't have to be a creep anymore. God can make you grape. Tweet that. I don't think people tweet anymore. That was the first time I really realized what true pruning does. It took what was bountiful and wild and made it truly bountiful and fresh. It took what was very leafy, what you'd expect was a healthy creeper, and made it a fruit-bearing beauty. What looks like ruin in one season can be flourishing in the next. And I've felt that personally in my life too. For me, it was a season in America where that was awesome. We went there with big dreams, and we're building a game studio. We were building a life. We bought a house. The kids were in school. It was amazing. And it felt like a God-kissed season. It felt incredible until it all came crashing down We lost the company. We lost our visa. We ended up paying the mortgage on the house we bought with a credit card. We were at risk of losing everything. And we came back to New Zealand with very little, with our faith, with our family. That was the important thing. The hardest thing, though, wasn't the stuff we lost. The hardest thing was what it took from me. Because in that season, yeah, we lost money. And money doesn't grow on trees, but it might as well compared to what we lost. I lost my confidence. Like, it broke me. It wasn't just confidence. A lot of it was ego too. But it decimated me. Confidence, ego. But in the moment, I couldn't tell the difference. I just felt bare. I just felt broken. I just felt stripped back. I just felt like a hacked up grapevine. That maybe I'd been running wild and I had to be constrained. I felt pain. I felt deeply embarrassed. I felt all of these emotions. I felt like God had cut away everything I was building. Everything I found my identity in. Everything that wasn't Him. And the truth is, He was. Here's the thing, I'm 10 years on from that valley, 7 years on from that valley, and I can see now what I couldn't see then. God was pruning me. We can have flourishing, but if there's no fruit, it's empty. It's empty. But now I can see fruit. I can see fruit in my family. I can see fruit in our ministry. I can see fruit in our calling. And we never would have seen that fruit had I continued with my ego. We never would have seen those things had my confidence been in me and not in the Lord. And so the season had to take place. The pruning had to take place. I had to feel defeat and brokenness before I could taste victory and fulfillment. Mountaintops don't exist without valleys. So like the grapevine on the fence in Mt Maunganui, what looked like loss in that moment was actually the love of the gardener's hand. And that is very, very hard to reconcile in the moment, but quite beautiful looking back. If you've got your Bibles, would you open them to John 15, 1 to 11? I am the true vine, and my Father is the vine dresser. Every branch in me that does not bear fruit, He takes away. And every branch that does bear fruit, He prunes, that it may bear more fruit. Already you are clean because of the word I have spoken to you. Abide in me and I in you. As the branch cannot bear fruit by itself unless it abides in the vine, neither can you unless you abide in me. I am the vine and you are the branches. Whoever abides in me and I in him, he it is that bears much fruit. For apart from me, you can do nothing. If anyone does not abide in me, he is thrown away like a branch and withers. And the branches are gathered and thrown into the fire and burnt. If you abide in me and my words abide in you, ask whatever you wish and it will be done for you. By this my Father is glorified, that you bear much fruit and so prove to be my disciples. As the Father has loved me, so I have loved you. Abide in my love. If you keep my commandments, you will abide in my love, just as I have kept my Father's commandments and abide in his love. These things I have spoken to you, that my joy may be in you and that your joy may be full. Hebrews 12, verse 7 to 11 goes a step further. It is for discipline that you have to endure. God is treating you as sons. For what son is there whom his father does not discipline? If you are left without discipline and all that in which all have participated, then you are illegitimate children and not sons. Beside this, we have had earthly fathers who disciplined us, and we respected them. Shall we not much more be the subject of the Father of spirits and live? For they disciplined us for a short time as it seemed best to them, but he disciplines us for our good, that we may share in his holiness. For the moment, all discipline seems painful rather than pleasant, but later it yields the peaceful fruit of righteousness to those who have been trained by it. Here's the story. You are a branch and you are connected to the vine. If you're alive in Jesus, fruit will come. But fruitfulness isn't the finish line. Fruitfulness has to be the starting point. And the gardener steps in. He steps in with his shears or his Makita zippet, zippet, zippet. My friend Emily is a gardener. She's got a little zippet. She's sponsored by Makita. It's pretty cool. Zippet. And it's amazing. There's no more like secateur action. It's just zippet. It's like a taser, but for trees. And the gardener, he steps in with the taser for trees. And what looks like subtraction becomes a strategy for multiplication. It becomes something beautiful. And the plot twist is he doesn't just cut the dead wood, he cuts the living wood too. He cuts the branches and he cuts the good things. Right? He cuts the good things. He cuts the things that feel like they're going well. The fruitful things even get cut. But he cuts them because he sees more in you. He sees more in you than you see in yourself. He sees more in you than people see in you. Because he's the gardener. And he knows what you're capable of. You will be pruned. But pruning is proof of life. My message is called Cut to the Chase. It hurts, but it'll help. And my first point is pruning is proof of life. The dead branches in the story, they don't get pruned, they get thrown into the fire. It's not just a quick manicure, it's destruction. If anyone does not abide in me, he is thrown away like a branch and withers, and those branches are gathered, thrown into the fire and burnt. But the living branches, it's the living branches that get cut. So if you're being cut back, if you feel like you are being cut back in this season, it's not proof that God has abandoned you. It is not proof that God has abandoned you. It's proof that you are alive in him. That you are alive in him and he sees something in you worth shaping. Take heart. Think of it this way. A coach doesn't waste his time yelling at the dudes on the bench. Right? Sit up straight. Cheer on your teammates. He doesn't waste his time with the people on the bench. He's working on the people in the field. He's working on the people in attack and defense. He pours his energy into them because he knows they've got more in them. He sees their potential. They've got another 6 points in them. Right? One more penalty and they're on top, and I'm not talking about the Wallabies game last night, but I'm happy to talk about the cricket. This is what our Father in heaven does. This is what he does. Hebrews 12, verse 7. It is for discipline that you have to endure. God is treating you as sons. For what son is there whom his father does not discipline? If he's pruning you, it's because you belong to him. If he's pruning you, it's because you belong to him. And can I tell you something more? The fact that you felt the sting, the fact that you felt the sting of Jesus, the sting of loss, the sting of things being stripped away, things you thought you needed, things that you thought framed your identity. It's like a love letter written with scissors. It is so hard, but he never prunes where there isn't potential. He never cuts where he doesn't see fruit. And it would have been the easiest thing in the world to chop healthy things grow last week. It would have been the easiest thing in the world to go, well, that was a great series. But we can't talk about healthy things grow without acknowledging the fact that healthy things grow, but healthy things also need to be pruned so that they can grow all the more. If you've never been challenged, never been corrected, never been cut back, that's not proof of blessing. If you've never been challenged, never been cut back, never been corrected, that is not proof of blessing. That could be proof of barrenness. It could be proof of coddling. It could be proof of a lack of fruit. Come close to the gardener. If every time you feel like the Lord is trying to discipline you, trying to correct you, trying to cut back, you shrink back, you go, I've had enough of that, God. I'm not interested. You're actually only robbing yourself of your potential. And you're robbing God of truly seeing his creation become all it's meant to be. It's natural. It's natural to freak out. I once jammed my brother's fingers in a car boot and I ran for the hills. I felt like I was in the bush for days. I had a can of baked beans that I stole from the supermarket, right? From the supermarket bag that was in the boot anyway. Because I was so scared of my dad. Probably more scared of my mum, but don't tell my dad that. Because we want to run from discipline. We don't want it to make us better. If you're being trimmed, if God has taken things away, it means you're alive in him. It means you're alive in him. When the gardener prunes, he's not saying, I'm done with you. He's saying, I'm not done with you yet. I'm so not done with you. So don't mistake his cutting for his absence. Don't mistake pruning for punishment. It's proof that you are his. It's proof that he has you. It's proof you're alive in Christ. It's proof that he sees more in you than you can see in yourself. We've got to go from being pruned and seeing them as setbacks to seeing them as setups. We've got to go from setbacks to setups. Hebrews 12:10. For they disciplined us for a short time as it seemed best for them. But he disciplines us for our good, that we may share in his holiness. For the moment, all discipline seemed painful rather than pleasant, but later it yields peaceful fruit of righteousness to those who have been trained by it. It means that when he cuts something away, he's not tearing you down, he's training you up. And the surprise is this: God doesn't just cut away sin, right? We'd think that God would cut away just sin, but sometimes he cuts away your confidence, your self-confidence. Sometimes he cuts away idols. And sometimes, like with me, it felt like he was cutting away good things. And man, it hurts. It hurts. He cuts away the things that you thought were a gift. He cuts away the things that you thought were untouchable. He'll even cut away the things that you thought were his fulfillment. And the reason for that is because if you allow those things to become the ultimate things, anything that takes the place of him in your heart has to be surrendered. He has to be number one. He has to be your Lord, your Savior, your King, and your Master. Think about Abraham. Abraham is blessed by his child Isaac. It's a miracle child. You can imagine the day Isaac was born, the celebrations that would happen. Sarah was meant to be barren. This was never meant to happen. I've been praying all my life for this, and my life has been very, 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 very long. But now God's saying, sacrifice him. Now God's saying he's going to cut away the very thing that I prayed for. He's going to cut away the very miracle he gave me. How does that make sense? Isaac's not evil. Abraham's not evil. Isaac's not all that sinful. But God needed to know, was Abraham's heart anchored to the gift, or was it anchored to the gift giver? Was Abraham's heart anchored to the covenant, or was it anchored to the one the covenant was with? Was it anchored to the promise, or was it anchored to the one who would fulfill every promise he ever made. The pruning knife was to reveal Abraham's allegiance. It was to reveal Abraham's true character. And when Abraham trusted God, he discovered that the cutting was never meant to take Isaac away, but it was to raise the faith of both of them. It was to raise the faith of both of them that they would carry into the generations and the generations and the generations to come. The story of the God of Abraham and Isaac and Jacob. He didn't stop being the God of Isaac because he asked Abraham to sacrifice him. The blessing was multiplied. The fulfillment was multiplied because of Abraham's obedience. And it's the same with us. It's the same with us. Sometimes God cuts back our dreams, our roles, our routines, our comforts. Not because they're bad, but because they're in the way of what is best. Those things aren't necessarily bad, but they're getting in the way of what is best. They're getting in the way of your true flourishing. They're cosmetic growth, not true growth. Back to athletes, because obviously I know a lot about them. Athletes, anyway, to run faster, they strip off weight, right? To run faster, they strip off weight, they cut back sugar, they avoid all the carbs, they trim back on late nights, they get 8 hours sleep, they sort their lazy habits, they become people of extreme discipline, especially in cutting seasons, right? When they're trying to get to a certain weight for a fight or a certain weight for a weigh-in. It's not because those things are sinful. It's because they slow them down. It's not because those things are sinful. There is nothing sinful about a Cinnabon. But if you are an athlete or gluten intolerant, it may kill you. The very start of Hebrews 12 starts with this. Therefore, since we are surrounded by so great a cloud of witnesses, let us also lay aside every weight and sin which clings so closely, and let us run with endurance the race set out for us. Looking to him, the founder and the perfecter of our faith, who for the joy that was set before him endured the cross, despising the shame, and is seated at the right hand of the throne of God. Pruning isn't punishment. Do you see it? Pruning isn't punishment. Pruning is preparation. He cuts back to raise us up. He cuts our lesser loves so that we can experience the greatest love. He cuts the shallow growth so that we can grow deep roots. He cuts what's holding us down so we can rise into all that he's calling us to be. So when something gets stripped away, when something feels like it's been cut away, instead of asking, what did I lose? What did I lose? Try asking, what is God trying to raise up in me in this season? Instead of fixating on the thing that's gone or the thing that's slipping away, ask God, what is it you're trying to bring forth? What is it you're trying to flourish that I might have lost track of? Every cut, every trim is aimed at growing your calling. Let me give you a math lesson. I know a lot about athleticism, and I know a lot about math. Quick story, I got 52% in school certificate math. Thank you. Fifth form math. And it was only because my parents paid hundreds of dollars to David Seymour to tutor me for the year. So if you want to thank anybody for the rise of the ACT Party, you can thank my parents. They've been sowing into that man's public ministry for years. God math. Subtraction equals multiplication. With God, subtraction equals multiplication. Growth is good. Growth is good. Growth is natural. But multiplication only comes through cutting. Jesus says in Matthew 13, verse 23, "As for what was sown on good soil, this is the one who hears the word and understands it. He indeed bears fruit and yields, in one case 100-fold, in another 60, and in another 30. God's heart isn't just for addition. God's favorite math is multiplication. Multiplication requires intentional pruning. Think about that grapevine. If my friend's grapevine had been left to its own devices, it would have spread and grown wild and been a bit yuck. There'd be lots of leaves, there'd be lots of green, but there'd be very little grapes. Very little grapes. The gardener has to trim it back so that the life of the vine will flow into the clusters, into the fruit. It's the cut that makes the grapes sweet. It's the cut that makes the grapes flourish. Without it, you have a lot of growth, but very little harvest. Thank God. Thank God for the cut. That's how things work in our lives too. Healthy things grow, but pruned things multiply. Healthy things may grow, but pruned things multiply. And I'm a dad. I've seen it with my kids. I've seen it firsthand. I've seen it with my parents parenting me. Right? We get this. We get this. We just feel like it's unfair when it comes from God. But we get this in our earthly relationships. Sometimes I've had to hold my kids back when they wanted to race ahead, one in particular. I've had to hold her back. It's not to be unfair. She's called me unfair multiple times a day. But it's not to be unfair. It's not even to be cruel. Like seriously, I'm not trying to be cruel. I'm trying to see her grow. She doesn't get it. She didn't deserve it. She assumes that I don't want what's best for my kids. But I do. And that's exactly why we do it. Because as parents, we know what they don't. That blows their mind because they know everything. They're 13. But we know what they don't. That slowing down builds balance. That slowing down builds strength. That slowing down builds maturity. Certainly what God's taught me that He knows about my life that I don't know. The cutting back wasn't to stop them. Cutting back isn't to stop them. It isn't to slow them down. It's to prepare them to fly further when the time's right. Paul says in 2 Corinthians 9:10, "As it is written, He has distributed freely. He has given to the poor. His righteousness endures forever. He who supplies seed to the sower and bread for food will supply and multiply your seed for sowing and increase the harvest of your righteousness. You will be enriched in every way to be generous in every way, which through us will produce thanksgiving to God." It's full of multiplication language. It's full of multiplication language. God cuts not to stunt your life, but to increase your harvest. So if you feel small right now, if you feel like you've been cut back right now, don't panic. Don't panic. You're not being persecuted. You're not being punished. You're being prepared. You're being prepared. Smaller doesn't mean weaker. Smaller means more focused. The gardener isn't satisfied with leaves. He's after fruit. He's after fruit. Growth is natural, but multiplication is supernatural. And the only way to move from growth to multiplication is through the cut, is through the pruning. Would the band come join me up here? I'm going to finish on this. Pruning looks like loss. Pruning looks like loss. But pruning is really, it's love. It looks like loss, but it's love. It looks like subtraction, but it's multiplication. It looks like pain, but it leads to peace and it leads to righteousness. Don't fear the knife. Embrace it. If you're being pruned, it's not because God has forgotten you. It's because God is preparing you. It's not because He's finished with you. God's not finished with you. And I could just linger here and get half the room in tears. Because God's not finished with you. And I don't know at what age we get to the point where we start to think He is, but I've passed it. I remember thinking I was done. Thinking, God, it was probably when I realized I couldn't be a youth pastor anymore. And I genuinely believe that God was finished with me. He's not finished with you. He's not finished with us. The knife in His hand is not a weapon, it's a tool. Not to destroy you, but to grow you. Not to destroy you, but to develop you, to flourish you. Not to cut you down, but to raise you up. He's the gardener. You can trust Him. You can trust Him. Every cut is proof of life. Every cut is proof that you are living and that He is living in you and He wants the best for you. It's evidence of His love. Every cut, it's like a whisper from heaven saying, I see more in you than you can see in yourself. Don't count yourself out. Don't freak out. Don't think you're abandoned or ignored, that you have no potential left. I'm cutting back so that you can grow. I'm cutting back because I know what is in you and because there is a harvest coming that is more than you can hope, dream, or imagine. That's what God does. You think you're the most imaginative person in the room? I do. I got nothing on what God knows for me, for my family, for our church. The cutting is proof that His imagination, that His creative power, that His purpose is far greater than we could ever hope or imagine. So don't resist the secateurs or the zip thing. Don't resist it. Don't resist it. Don't despise the cutting. Lean into it. God, I will take the cutting. I'll take the pruning if it means I can have the potential. I'll take the pruning if it means I can live in your purpose. I'll take what you have for me because you are the gardener and I am but a branch. The same hand that holds the pruning knife prepped the soil, waters your growth, and will one day lift your arms that have become heavy and burdened with fruit. It's all the same gardener. It's all the same gardener. So if you feel cut back, if you feel pruned, if you've walked through a loss, maybe the things that you leaned on, maybe they've fallen away. Maybe they've been stripped back. Maybe your life feels smaller than it used to. That's incredibly uncomfortable. Smaller doesn't mean weaker. Smaller doesn't mean God's done. Smaller means you're sharpened, you're focused, and you're being prepared for more. The pruning is preparation. It's the Father saying, I see more in you than you see in yourself.